Thank you for plugging into this Family Life News podcast, streaming issues-driven, family-focused news.
Welcome back to another edition of Hometown Heroes on Family Life. I'm Mark Webster, and this week's guest is Stephen Taybor of the Buffalo, New York satellite of 8 Days of Hope, bringing hope and the love of Christ to victims of natural disasters nationwide.
8 Days of Hope started in 2005. I'm originally from upstate New York in Buffalo, moved down to Tupelo, Mississippi, and then a storm hit our country. It was called Katrina. I was living in Tupelo, Mississippi, my dad up in upstate New York, and we thought it'd be cool and the right thing to do to help one family rebuild their home. And so the goal was simple. We were going to each recruit 3 or 4 friends, take 10 people down to Bay St. Louis or Waveland, Mississippi or Biloxi, and find a widow or an elderly couple and help them rebuild their house. But so many times in life, you think you have a plan. God is in control and not us. He redirected us a little bit left and right. And long story short, that first trip in December of 2005, we took 684 people. It was our smallest trip ever, but we were blown away about how many people came. And in 8 days, the number 8 in the Bible means new beginnings, we rebuilt 84 homes for free. We're just a conduit for the saints to give them a chance to use their gifts to bless people. And here we are 18 years later. We have now helped 8,800 families rebuild their homes for free, done about $68 million of work across the country. We have an arm that builds safe homes for those rescued from trafficking. We just built a project with Tim Tebow down in Chattanooga, Tennessee. If you know how to cook, if you know how to hammer something, if you can paint, if you know how to do landscaping, go to the website, learn more about the ministry, 8daysofhope.com.
I'm thinking of that old Johnny Cash song, I've Been Everywhere, Man. You must have seen a lot of stuff, been a lot of places doing all this.
I tell you what, Hurricane Harvey, Katrina, Michael, Irene, Isaac, Delta, Lauren, Zeta, flooding in Nashville, snowstorms in Buffalo, New York, tornadoes in Illinois, Hawaii, when a volcano erupted 4 years ago, we went out and helped out families. We've now responded to 73 different disasters, leading 50,000 volunteers. I tell people all the time, I'm not that smart. I'm not, but God is. He's got to figure it out. We're just humbled that we have 180 volunteer leaders, different denominations, all Christians, but different denominations, being the church that God's called us to be. We travel the country whenever God opens that door, and it's so much fun. It really is.
Tell me about how the Western New York contingent of this came to be and fits into the big picture.
We're based in Tupelo, Mississippi, where I lived for 20 years, but God opened up the door for us to spread our wings a little bit so we can respond quicker when there's a need. God bless us with a facility in Buffalo, New York on Kensington Avenue, and that's our Northeast satellite. And then 2 years ago, God opened up another door for us to open up a Midwest satellite in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So God has 3 different areas of the country with 8 Days of Hope where we can deploy equipment when there's a flood, an ice storm, a tornado, a hurricane, and it's been amazing to watch it grow. Every year in July, we do a unique project in the city of Buffalo. It's not disaster related, but it's just church driven. We have about 60 churches that join us and dozens of businesses. And for 8 days, every year in July, right before Kingdom Bound, we serve a different district in the city of Buffalo. This year we were in the Fillmore district. Next year we'll announce another district, and we plan hopefully to do that just about every year.
A common thread I find is that those who go out in the field to bless others wind up getting blessed at least as much themselves.
You know, the common line I use during orientation is you're going to leave exhausted. Some of us are going to do things we haven't done in a while. We get handyman, handywomen. We have bankers who love to paint, and they come here and paint. So I always tell them, your body will be exhausted, but your heart's going to be full. You're going to make lifelong friends, not only the families you served, but the volunteers you met from around the country. As you and I speak, we're in Lake Charles, Louisiana. We have volunteers from 36 states here: California, New York, New Hampshire, Mississippi, Alabama. To me, it's just a testimony of God's goodness. When God created you and I, he gifted us. And it might be different. So I'm not the guy with the hammer. I'm like the guy you don't want on your crew. Can you carry shingles? Can you make a sandwich? We need people with all those gifts. We have volunteers here at 8 Days of Hope in Louisiana that are doing the volunteers' laundry. They'll do about 250 loads of laundry. Don't let the enemy tell you that you're not good enough, that you have nothing to offer. God doesn't make junk. And when he created you, he stepped back and he smiled and said, nailed it. We have 181 volunteer leaders. They're They're all believers. 11 different denominations are represented. You have Methodists and Baptists and non-denominational. It's just amazing to see when people come together and we set aside sometimes petty differences to see what God can do.
That's Stephen Taybor of the Buffalo, New York satellite of 8 Days of Hope, bringing hope and the love of Christ to victims of natural disasters nationwide. Please join us again next week as we search for your home, your town, your hero. It's Hometown Heroes on Family Life.